I hope you are doing well, healthy, and safe. Today I want to speak about something that may sound unusual at first, something that many people misunderstand, especially women living in a world that constantly demands direction, ambition, results, and purpose. The topic is the benefit of living with no purpose as a woman. When you first hear this, it may sound strange. How can living with no purpose be a benefit? How can not having a rigid direction lead to power, clarity, and peace? But sometimes wisdom is found in the opposite of what society teaches. When you look at nature, you see something very interesting. A river does not force itself to flow in a straight line. A flower does not push itself to bloom before its time. A tree does not rush to grow taller than the forest beside it. Everything in nature moves with ease, with softness, with its own rhythm. Nothing is desperate, nothing is pressured, nothing is trying to prove anything. It simply exists, and through existing it becomes beautiful, powerful, and meaningful. But many women today have been taught that they must constantly have a purpose, constantly have a goal, constantly chase something. That if they are not striving, they are failing. If they are not building, they are wasting time. If they are not achieving, they are falling behind. This pressure steals peace. This pressure steals identity. This pressure creates a life that feels crowded on the outside but empty on the inside. What I want you to understand is this. Sometimes the greatest power a woman can hold is the ability to simply be, to exist, to breathe, to live without forcing herself into a direction that does not feel natural, to stop running after a purpose she does not even want, to allow life to reveal her path instead of trying to control every step. Living with no fixed purpose does not mean living without meaning. It means allowing yourself to explore who you are without fear. It means giving yourself permission to feel, to rest, to observe, to grow at your own pace. It means letting your inner nature guide you instead of the voices around you. For many women, the stress comes from trying to meet expectations. Expectations to be successful, to be productive, to be strong, to be perfect. But what if you release these expectations? What if you allow yourself to live gently? What if you embrace the idea that you do not need to have everything figured out? Living with no purpose becomes powerful because it brings you back to yourself. When you stop running, you finally hear your own thoughts. When you stop forcing a purpose, you reconnect with your intuition. You reconnect with your feminine energy, which is not about chasing, but about receiving. Not about pushing, but about flowing. Not about proving, but about being. And in that state of being, a new clarity appears, a deeper understanding, a quiet strength, a calm confidence. This is what I want to guide you toward today. There is a moment in every woman's life when she begins to feel the pressure of expectations. Society tells her she must know exactly who she is, where she is going, and what purpose she must fulfill. But the reality is very different. Most women carry a silent burden, a burden created not by their own hearts, but by the voices around them. Voices telling them to become something specific, to follow a straight line, to always produce, always achieve, always know the next step. And when she cannot meet those expectations, she begins to believe she is lost. She begins to think she is failing. She begins to think something is wrong with her. But here is a truth you rarely hear. Because the world does not understand it, there is great strength in not knowing your purpose. There is freedom in that space. There is possibility. There is openness. When you do not force yourself to choose a rigid path too early, you allow life to guide you in ways that are deeper, wiser, and more aligned with who you truly are. Many women think having no purpose means being empty. But emptiness is not always a weakness. In many traditions, emptiness is the beginning of transformation. Emptiness is a vessel. When a cup is already full, nothing new can enter. But when a cup is empty, it becomes ready to receive. In the same way, when your life is not rigidly defined by a single purpose, you become open to different experiences, new learning, unexpected directions, and deeper self-discovery. A woman without a fixed purpose becomes adaptable. She learns to flow with life rather than fight it. She notices small details others miss. She grows in understanding, in softness, in perception. she becomes someone who feels deeply, observes deeply, and listens deeply. This is not a weakness. This is an intelligence that cannot be taught in books or classrooms. It is an intelligence that comes from allowing life to shape you instead of forcing yourself into a shape that does not belong to you. And the more you grow in this way, the more you start to understand that purpose is not something you chase. It is something that appears. It reveals itself naturally, slowly, quietly. Sometimes your purpose is not a mission. Sometimes it is not a career. Sometimes it is not a goal. Sometimes your purpose is simply to live fully, to learn about yourself, to rediscover your strength, to develop your emotional clarity, to heal, to grow, to evolve. Women who live without a fixed purpose often find themselves becoming stronger than those who rigidly cling to a single direction, because they learn how to trust themselves. They learn how to adapt. They learn how to breathe through uncertainty. They learn how to walk without needing a map. And this ability becomes their true purpose, the ability to exist freely, to move authentically, to stand without needing validation. Do not fear not knowing. Do not fear uncertainty. It is not darkness, it is a doorway. And once you walk through it, you will discover that the woman you are becoming is far more powerful than the woman you thought you needed to be. There is a moment in a woman's life when she begins to feel the quiet shift within herself. It is not loud, it is not dramatic, and it does not announce itself with chaos. Instead, it arrives like a soft whisper, a gentle call from within, reminding her that she no longer wishes to live according to the expectations of others. This moment is sacred. This moment is powerful. And it often appears only when she begins living without a fixed purpose, without the weight of carrying a rigid identity that someone else placed on her. When you stop forcing yourself to have a grand purpose, something beautiful happens. You begin to rediscover your natural energy. You begin to reconnect with your intuition, which is the quiet compass inside every woman. This intuition speaks a language that is not rushed, not pressured, and not controlled by society. It speaks the language of truth. And when you live without forcing a single purpose, your intuition becomes louder, clearer, and more trustworthy. Most of the confusion women experience comes not from a lack of purpose, but from carrying too many purposes that do not belong to them. The purpose to please, the purpose to be accepted, the purpose to be perfect, the purpose to meet expectations. These purposes suffocate the spirit. They created a constant pressure to fit into shapes that were never meant for her. But once she puts them down, once she drops all the identities she thought she needed to wear, she becomes lighter. Her mind becomes spacious. Her heart becomes free. In that freedom, she begins to see herself again. Not as a mother, not as a partner, not as a daughter, not as a role someone assigned to her, but as a human being who is allowed to simply be. And in that state of being, something magical unfolds. Life begins guiding her effortlessly. Opportunities come without force. Connections happen naturally. Creativity flows without pressure. This is the wisdom behind living without a rigid purpose. When a woman stops chasing a purpose, she becomes present. She becomes grounded. She becomes aware of her breath, aware of her emotions, aware of her inner strength. And this awareness is far more important than having a defined purpose. Awareness allows her to respond instead of react. Awareness allows her to observe instead of absorb. Awareness allows her to protect her energy, set boundaries, and move with intention. Living without a rigid purpose does not mean living without meaning. It means allowing meaning to arise naturally from each moment. It means allowing your soul the space to grow without being trapped in a specific direction. A purpose may come later, or it may change, or it may evolve. But for now, the beauty lies in living, experiencing, learning, and flowing with life rather than fighting it. This is the quiet power a woman discovers when she stops forcing herself to have everything figured out. She becomes the student of life rather than the prisoner of expectation. And in that surrender, she becomes more powerful than she has ever been. Now let us go deeper into a truth many women fear to face. Living without a defined purpose is not a weakness. It is in fact a gift that few truly understand. Most people, especially women, are taught from a young age that their value comes from doing something meaningful, from having a goal, from achieving recognition. But life does not require you to always have a purpose. Life requires you to be present. Life requires you to feel. Life requires you to understand yourself. And when you embrace this freedom, you open a door that few ever dare to enter. Without a rigid purpose, you are free to explore your own desires without pressure. You can wake up each day and ask yourself, what do I feel like doing today? What will bring me joy in this moment? The world constantly pushes women to plan, to organize, to serve, to be useful. And in following these expectations, so many lose themselves. But when you give yourself permission to live without a defined purpose, you return to yourself. You listen to your own heartbeat instead of chasing someone else's definition of success. You feel life in its raw, unfiltered way. You notice the beauty around you. You appreciate the small things, the quiet moments, the simplicity that most people overlook because they are too busy striving for more. Living without purpose also teaches resilience. When you are not bound to a specific goal, you stop fearing failure. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your worth based on accomplishments, relationships, or social approval. You begin to understand that your value exists independently of these external markers. You learn patience because you realize life unfolds at its own pace. You learn trust because you see that the universe does not abandon those who are simply living. And most importantly, you learn self-love because you start to appreciate who you are in every moment without the pressure to do or become something else. And there is an even greater secret. Living without a purpose allows you to attract what truly belongs in your life. When you are no longer forcing your path, when you are no longer clinging to a defined outcome, life has space to guide you. Opportunities appear naturally, connections happen organically, and people who resonate with your energy are drawn to you. You become magnetic, not because of what you are chasing, but because of the peace and authenticity you radiate. When you live without the constant need for purpose, you live with alignment. And alignment is far more powerful than any plan or goal you could create. So I want you to hear this clearly. The world will try to shame you for not having a purpose, for not being productive, for not fitting into its mold. Ignore it. The freedom you feel in living without a defined purpose is not laziness. It is clarity. It is power. It is a quiet revolution of your spirit. Embrace it, explore it, and allow yourself to live fully in each moment. Understand that a woman who walks her life without a rigid purpose is not lost. She is free. She is alive. She is discovering the true depths of her soul. And when you embrace this freedom, you begin to experience a joy and strength that purpose alone could never give you.